whether you want to listen to the lesson a second time because you were confused or if you were absent, I've put this together for you to help you succeed better in my class. And we're starting with chapter 1, the basic stuff. And this is elements of a complete sentence. So just subjects and verbs. So a sentence in an English class could also be known as an independent clause. And I want you to take a second and I want you to think, what does the word independent mean? Well, independent means you could say alone, or I would say the ability to be by itself. So if you think of a sentence can be alone. It can stand on its own. It's good and it's right. So it's independent. Now, every sentence has two things, and that is a subject and a verb. Now, a subject is the person or thing that's doing or being something. So another way of thinking about it is the subject is what the sentence is about. And I want you to remember that at least minimum 90% of the time, the subject is going to be at the beginning of the sentence. And a verb. So a verb, everyone, shows an action like doing something, or it's a state of being, such as I, which would be the subject. So I am the teacher. So every sentence has a subject, what we're talking about, and then what is that thing or person doing, or what are they being? So every sentence has a subject and a verb. So here's a sample sentence. Joe purchased a car. So what's the sentence about? Well, the sentence is about Joe. Joe is who we're talking about. And it's at the beginning of the sentence. We're talking about Joe. And what did Joe do? Joe purchased. Good. So Joe purchased a car. And again, it could be he purchased broccoli, he purchased a video game, but the subject that we're talking about is Joe. And what did Joe do? He purchased. So here's another one. The car was red. So what is the subject? What are we talking about in this sentence? Well, we're talking about the car, right? And then what's our verb? It's actually the word was, which is a state of being. So we're talking about the car, and it was, and red is a descriptor or an adjective. It could be red or blue or green. It doesn't really matter. But we know for sure that we're talking about a car, and then the car was. Now, here's a hard one. Being on time for work is important. What do you think the subject is in being on time for work is important? This is a tricky one. It's actually this whole thing here. We're talking about in this sentence being on time for work. That's the subject. We're talking about being on time for work. And being on time for work is important. It could be not important. It could be multiple different things. But the subject in this sentence, what we're talking about, it's a thing. It's an idea, which is being on time for work. So remember, a subject can be a person. It could be a thing like a car, or it can be an idea like being on time for work. And then here is our verb, which is. These two little letters. And if you look at all of these, the subject is coming before the verb. So once I see a word like is, I already know the subject is going to be before that. And here's some linking verbs. Linking verbs are little words like is or was or being, like we are in class together. The car was red. We were on vacation. Good. Now, if you don't have a good sentence, you have something that's called a fragment. So if it's not a complete sentence, it's a fragment. That means that something is missing. And it can be either the subject or the verb, one or the other. Here's an example. The quarterback on the 10-yard line. Just listen to that. The quarterback on the 10-yard line. Well, the quarterback on the 10-yard line, what? The quarterback on the 10-yard line threw a pass, got sacked, called a play. What did the quarterback on the 10-yard line do? Or you could say the quarterback is on the 10-yard line. That would be fine too. But since none of that is there, that's a fragment. What about this? Shifted into school mode. Okay, so what are we missing? I'm missing a subject. I don't know who shifted into school mode. What shifted into school mode? I have a verb. My verb is shifted. So something has shifted. So I shifted into school mode. Jessica shifted into school mode. But since I don't know who did the shifting, it is a fragment. So if you have any questions with, if you have any questions with any of this, go ahead and ask me. And that's where we're going to stop today. So good job, everybody.